4 inlets, 2 days. Just me, the road, and a stretch of New Jersey coastline where every inlet has a story. From Absecon to Shark River, I set out chasing one target, the Tautog. A hard-fighting, crab-crunching fish with a cult following among those willing to put in the work. Every inlet told a different story, different structure, different challenges, and a different lesson to learn. Would I find the bite I was after, or just another reminder of how humbling this fish can be?
You gotta be kidding me.
The first stop on our journey of this trip will be Absecon Inlet on the Atlantic City side. So I've actually never fished this inlet before. This will be my first time, but we're gonna go to the tackle shop, load up on some crabs, and then get fishing, and hopefully Absecon Inlet provides today. So I'll catch you there about a half an hour out, and yeah, getting excited to fish. I just stopped at a tackle shop and I picked up a dozen crabs. I think the plan for each of these days is to use a dozen crabs at each of the spots before moving on to the next one. I'm also using my Quantum Merit 7-foot medium rod and my Quantum Benchmark 3000 size reel. The wind is picking up a little bit right here, but I think we'll be okay today with some jigs. And without further ado, let's get out there and get fishing. Absecon Inlet takes its name from the Lenape word Absecon, meaning little water. In the 19th century, at least 64 shipwrecks were reported here, prompting the construction of the Absecon Lighthouse to guide vessels safely to shore. By 1876, waves and erosion had crept dangerously close to the lighthouse's base, threatening its foundation. So to protect it, jetties were built, forming the shoreline and structure we fish along today.
Okay, so we're gonna cut up one of these green crabs. We start out by cutting the claws so they're not pinching us. And then I slice them right in half, dispatch them. And then the last thing I do is just remove the appendages, the legs, the claws, all that stuff. And there you go, you got a bait to put on the hook. Then to put the crab on the hook, you take the jig, put the hook through one of the back legs, and then push the hook out another one. And there you go, you're all set up and ready to get tog fishing. It's as simple as that. All right, let's get this first crab out here and see if there's any fish around. We're just gonna toss it nice and close to the rocks and just wait on that bite now. All right, there we go, just got a little quick hit. Means there's fish present. Ooh, just whiffed on one. But yeah, they're chewing already. It's a good thing. Here we go. Little tiny one on the first fish of the day. Little tiny male. First fish of the trip and first fish at Absecon Inlet ever. So going back. All right, so one small fish yanked from the rocks. I kind of just pulled him straight up, so it might be pretty shallow right here. I'm not gonna lie, I actually did not check the tides today, but I'm assuming that it could be low right now, just based on the water line on the rocks. Haven't gotten a bite in a couple minutes since catching that last fish. There's no way he was the only one down there. Oh, whoops. Came off the hook, but that was another little guy right there. The hook in my jig is actually twisting around, which is weird. So it looks like it's like coming off the lead. I'm gonna replace this out. I've never had that happen before. So since those last two fish that we caught were pretty small, this jig actually has a pretty small hook on it. So just might help catch these fish a little better, especially if there's small ones down there, but it'll still catch big fish. So that's obviously our goal. Hopefully we can catch some big fish on this. I'm gonna try tossing out a little farther. See if there's anything out a ways. This half-ounce jig's holding up pretty well too, even though a big boat came by and just made all the water churn up a little bit. Still holding its ground. Ooh, that was a pretty good bite that I just totally whiffed on. Yeah, they just stole that crab right out from under me. The good news is I think we'll go through our crabs pretty quick, the way this bite is. It's pretty consistent, so that's always a good thing. Oh, snag me. Yeah, I don't think I'm coming out of there. I also don't think there's a fish on, so this might be our first jig loss of the day. That's why they're biting there so much. Snaggy spots are usually where the fish are. Big old gust of wind just came through here and blew my entire leader line into the water, so that's great. But I have this 40 pound as backup. This is usually for rig making, but it's gonna have to do.
For tog jigs, I don't use swivels to connect line to line. Instead, I'll typically use a uni-to-uni knot to ensure a direct connection and reduce the amount of tackle.
All right, let's try this again. Stupid wind blew my bucket into the water. Now I'm trying to get it back. Well, this sucks. Lost my bucket, lost my leader line. I don't even really mind. The bucket's like $3, but now there's trash in the ocean and plastic in the ocean. That I'm not too happy about. Wind, I literally hate wind, man. It's my worst enemy. I'll deal with any other condition, but wind just always ruins my day. Fortunately, the crabs fell out of the bucket before it fell in the water. So we still have some of those, not all of them. But yeah, I don't know. Not a great start. Another small little one. At least I was finally getting bites. After the whole wind incident, it kind of died down for a hot second. It was just adding to my frustration. But all right, we got one on the board. Little one. All right, another little one. They're really all about this same size so far today. Well, we're getting fish at least. All right, here we go, another little tog. Oh, missed that one. Had a nice little pull on that one too. Let's try that again. It's kind of weird, these tog aren't really hitting in the same spot every time. I've been having to like toss around between each fish before the bite starts up again. And then if I miss a bite or something, I'll throw it back in that same spot and then there's nothing there. So, I don't know, kind of strange. Feels like a better fish. Yeah, a little bit of a better one. It's probably our best of the morning.
Okay. All right, here we go. This is probably our best fish of the morning. I don't know, maybe 10 inches. So nothing really to write home about, but it's still a fish, and let's keep fishing.
Another little guy. So when you have one of these tiny crabs, it's a little hard to put on the hook when it's cut in half. You could just use it whole, start cracking the top of the shell, get those juices out. And then when you want to put it on the hook, you can lift this flap up, string it through the backside like that, and then you got it right on the hook, just like that. And maybe this crab will catch us a little bit of a bigger fish. Let's see. Getting some hits here, some consistent hits. Nothing big enough to take the bait yet though. Oh, there we go. Another little one, I think. Wow. Oh, it snagged, that's why. Whoops. Sorry, little guy. Really only got a few crabs left. Hopefully we can make the most of them. Wading through a lot of little bites. It's a big crab on there right now. So let's see if one decides to take it. But basically, I'm wading through these taps and these scratches, and you want to feel a little bit of a pull, because that's the fish swimming away with the jig. And that's when you want to set the hook. Well, in that case, I waited a bit too long, and they cleared my hook yet again.
We're on to the final crab right here. Let's hope that this provides us some fish. We'll see.
All right, green crab. Let's get one more tog on the board to end out this jetty. And it's gone. No fish. Not a great way to end this session, but it is what it is. I didn't even feel any bites, to be honest. It just disappeared pretty much.
When fishing for tog, sometimes you want to stay in the same spot, and eventually over time, as you start to throw more crabs in, more fish will start to show up and get interested based on all the activity. So as you build the bite, sometimes bigger fish show up, sometimes more fish show up. But with that method, it's all a matter of staying in the same spot and just trying to stay patient until those fish come along. Well, that's a dozen crabs done at Absecon Inlet and Atlantic City. And now it's time to move on to the next spot, which is going to be Barnegat Inlet and Barnegat Light, Long Beach Island.
All right, so I was out there for about 2.5 hours to go through a dozen green crabs. We've got about an hour commute to the next inlet, so we're gonna get stocked up at the bait shop once we get there, and then get out there and get fishing once again. Just got to Barnegat Inlet after picking up another dozen crabs. I'm excited to be here. Let's get out there and let's get fishing. In 1614, Dutch explorer Cornelius May gave Barnegat Inlet its original name, Barnegat, meaning inlet with breakers. In 1859, the first-class Barnegat Lighthouse was built to guide ships safely through the channel. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers constructed a jetty in 1937 to stabilize the inlet. But by 1985, a supplemental review deemed the effort ineffective. As a result, in 1991, a new 4,200-foot jetty was constructed, the one we fish from today. So I'm a little ways down from the lighthouse, almost at the end, but not quite the end. We're gonna try this spot out. Hopefully there's fish here. And hopefully they're good fish too, so let's try it out. Lucky enough, we got a new bucket, and these crabs actually seem a little bigger than the last batch we got in Atlantic City, so hopefully that helps us get on some nicer fish. I did switch to a 3/4 ounce jig just because these crabs are a little bigger and this has a little bit of a bigger hook. And also it seems to be a little more of a heavy current here, not by much, but hopefully this helps keep the jig in place. We're gonna toss just within this little boulder field right here. See if there's any fish hiding out down here. There we go, there's our first fish. Oh, that's a pretty big one. Not sure if that's a keeper, but pretty big fish. Yep, that's a keeper, just over 15 inches. Our first fish, a keeper. All right, first fish of the day right here is a keeper tog. I'm actually not gonna keep any today unless they're pretty much like giant fish, so this guy's actually gonna go back. All right, big guy, go back. I was tossing the jig all around out there, but what ended up working was pretty much right tight to these rocks in this little tiny crevice. So let's try that again, see if that gets us another fish. Ooh, felt like another good bite. Hopefully that crab's still on there. The way I can tell it's a nice bite too is instead of like those quick taps, they just yank the jig down. Because those bigger fish, they just take it and run. They don't really mess around with it. Let's see if that crab's still there. All right, that's our first snag of the day. Well, first snag at Barnegat Inlet.
The snag is right where those fish are biting. I'm trying to get a little bit of a better angle on this hole right here where those fish are biting. See if this helps me snag less. But I am getting some good bites and we still got plenty of crab left, so if we end up building this bite, this could be a good spot. I did not complete my uni to uni knot, and it just basically came right off. So this one, I'm gonna make sure I tie a little better. Oh, that's a good fish. And I think he's stuck in the rocks, actually. Come on out. Oh, jumbo. Nice. That's a sick fish. Let's go. It's actually only 15 inches, but this guy felt and looked a lot bigger coming out of those rocks. He's pretty fat too. All right, here we go. Second fish of the day, and also second keeper on the board. Just about 15 inches. It's a nice fish right there. All right, go make more big fish, buddy. All right, let's see if we can get another keeper on the board. That'd be pretty amazing. 3 in a row would be nice. What's the likelihood of that? Probably pretty low, but you never quite know. The wind is really cranking out of the south right now. I did not expect this to be a very windy day like this. Forecast said pretty much like 10 miles per hour, 12 miles per hour is gonna be the max. There's definitely a lot more than that. Oh, felt like another good bite. Oh, oh, felt like a pretty good fish. I think I just scraped off on a rock and broke the line. Snagging left and right, man. Try to get a more overhead angle of this spot right here. See if that helps find where these fish are. It's a little tricky right now. Can't seem to get any on the board. That's another good fish. That's another good fish. Oh yeah. Come on up here. I think it's just like keeper after keeper today, man. All right, big guy. Thanks for playing. All right, let's try to get another one here on the board. This has been a really fun afternoon. I have to throw like pretty much right in this one little area. I have to be super accurate to try to get it to the spot where they're all sitting. Because if it doesn't hit the bottom in just the right way, they're not gonna hit it. And that's what I've been finding out. All right, there's a normal size tog. Oh, and there he goes. That was a regular size tog. Regular catch of the day, not a keeper, but fun to say the least. Oh, all right, high sticking like crazy. I gotta stop doing that. There's another male. Nice little fish. Adding to the average size tog. There we go, an average little tog. And he's too small, so he's gonna go back. I just checked the time. It's about 4:30 right now. And the last time I was here, kind of around like 5 o'clock, 5:30 is really when the bites started to pick up. So let's see if that comes true. I've caught 2 fish in the last few minutes, so it's looking like that might be the case. These fish are being really tricky right now, but the biting has got at least a little more consistent than earlier. However, we are kind of getting into those smaller fish, so that could be why. Oh man, how'd that come off? Must not have really had it in his mouth that well. It's a good fish. I'm trying to keep him out of the rocks. That could be our biggest of the day.
Okay, that's our third keeper of the day today. Pretty crazy so far. We really found a good spot here. And I'm really happy with how this bite's going, especially after this morning when it seemed like everything was just going wrong.
There we go. Finally got this one that's been messing with me. No, they're big in. No, they're big in. All right, another 14-incher. Still a pretty good fish. Still got about 4 crabs left. Cut that in half, about 8 pieces left. So we still got some time to catch some more fish. Bro's digging in. He's digging in. That's another big one. This is crazy. This has got to be one of my best tog days, and I don't even know how long. All right, that's a 16-inch fish right there. I think that's keeper number 4 of the day. This is crazy. I'm having so much fun out here. This is the best. See you, buddy. Thank you. I think my new goal is to catch a fish over 17 or 18 inches. If I do, then maybe I'll bring it home. But otherwise, this has been so much fun. I can't believe this day. It's kind of hard to believe how many fish are down there. It seems like such a small hole, such a small spot. But we've caught a decent handful, and they're all pretty big. They must be really crammed in. All right, we're back to the average size ones now. And I'm saying average size, but this is still a pretty good tog, maybe a 13-incher. But for today, this is average. Not sure if you could tell the difference between the colors of these on the camera, but this one's a little more orangey red and this one's a little more green. So the reddish one is the older shell, and a greener one means that it had just molted recently. So when you put one of the red ones on the hook, it's a little harder of a shell and it's gonna stay on a little longer than the green ones. And sometimes when you have a bigger fish coming by and all the other fish are picking out the bait and ripping the shell apart, the red one's gonna stay on longer and get you that bigger fish. This is my final crab for Barnegat Inlet right here. Let's hope for the best. Hopefully we catch one more on it. Oh, haha. Okay, this is our last shot at this. There we go. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That could have been the best fish of the day. I don't know what's going on with me today. This is something else. That's it. That's Barnegat Inlet for today. That was a painful way to end the day. I'll never end up knowing how big that fish was, but I definitely learned my lesson today. I think what was happening was my leader line was getting way too chafed up because I was fishing right next to that rock. And I think every time I caught a fish, it was just getting chewed out. What I really should have been doing is changing the leader more frequently, but I neglected to do that, so you live and you learn. There's always next time. But that's the end of day one. We definitely redeemed ourselves today at Barnegat Inlet, and let's see what tomorrow has for us at Manasquan Inlet and Shark River Inlet.
This is day 2 of our trip up the New Jersey coast. So last night I went night fishing. I didn't catch anything, but I'm a little tired this morning, so I'm getting a late jump. But we're heading to Point Pleasant to fish Manasquan Inlet for some tog. It's about an hour drive, so I'll catch you there. Maps from 1868 show that Manasquan Inlet once sat thousands of yards north of its current location. A constantly shifting landscape made the inlet unstable and difficult to navigate. When the Point Pleasant Canal was dug in 1926, the redirected water flow disrupted the natural course of the Manasquan River, and sand eventually sealed the inlet completely. So in 1930, using stone excavated from Manhattan's 2nd Avenue subway project, new jetties were built at a cost of $600,000, forming the inlet as we know it today.
I'm starting with a 3/4 ounce because look how crazy this water gets when these boats go by. It's a pretty narrow inlet, so whenever the boat goes up the middle of the channel, it just wipes all this water in. So hopefully the 3/4 ounce jig holds up today. Yeah, look at this behemoth crab. We're gonna have to chop this up into littler pieces. All right, I kind of got to throw it way out there just because there's like a rock cliff right here. But that jig will kind of float back and find its way in those rocks. And hopefully find the bite too. Yeah, we're already getting bites. Yeah, there we go. That's a good sign. Better sign than last time I was here. Let's just check if they stole it. Yeah, it's looking like they did. Okay, not such a bad thing though. Got more crabs to go. There's one small crevice right between the rocks down there that I want the jig to sit in. Because I could just tell there's probably tons of tog stacked up in there. Oh, just missed it. The tide's pretty low. I can actually see when these tog are biting on this crab, I can see the shell bits coming up, floating up to the surface. So they're definitely down there. Stuck in that rock right there. Come on, come out. There we go. Oh, he's stuck back in there. Man, I'm really jammed in there. I just gotta wait till he swims out. Let's see if I can get more leverage by coming down here. Oh, finally snapped me off. Well, it was kind of either one or the other there. Either he snapped me off or I catch the fish. And sure enough, the fish won. This is gonna be a frustrating day, I can already tell. I mean, the bite's good, but it seems to just be all little tiny fish, maybe even little burgal, chipping away at it. Nothing's been significant enough yet of a bite to really set the hook on. So I just sit there while they chew my bait away. So we might fly through this a lot faster than expected. Finally. Ooh, big fish. All right, nice little chunky guy. Finally, first fish of the day though. Might be like 12, 13 inches. All right, finally after grinding all morning, we got our first fish of the day. It's actually 13.5 inches, so not so bad. He put up a good fight, but now he's gonna go back. Throwing out a little farther was definitely the key to get past all those little tiny fish. Oh, okay, another pretty good one. There we go, fish number 2. Alrighty, probably another 10 to 12 inches, if I would guess. Not a bad fish, but I think because I'm so high up, these guys are fighting really hard. So going back, but glad we're starting to get some fish on the board. It's another one right there. Nice fish. Oh, that's another good one right there. All right, here we go. Another 13-inch fish right there. Not so bad. And he fought hard once again. So throwing him back in. We've got just about half the crabs left in here. So hopefully we can make them count and catch a little more fish before moving on to the next spot.
These tog were really tricky and I whiffed on a ton of bites.
I'm absolutely flying through this second half of the batch of crabs. So I'm hoping to at least get another one before we have to leave. We finally got one. There's a ton of them chewing down there, so glad we finally picked one out of the bunch. Here we go, another fish. I saved this final huge green crab for last, so maybe it'll land us a big fish. Hopefully it gets us a fish. Let's try it out and finish up the afternoon strong. This was a big bait, so they've been chewing on it for a while, breaking it down, but now we're finally getting some substantial bites, so I don't know. Hopefully one of them takes the jig with it. Actually, seems like they cleaned it off. And it's gone. All right, that's a wrap. All right, and that's a wrap on Manasquan Inlet. 12 crabs down. Now on to the next and final inlet. I'd say that was a decent morning. Manasquan Inlet actually has a pretty special place in my heart because when I was learning how to blackfish, I would come here pretty often to practice. But anyway, our fourth and final destination of the trip is Shark River Inlet in Belmar, New Jersey. So it's about a 20-minute drive, the shortest route of our entire trip. And without further ado, let's get out there.
Originally called Nulla Cusset by the Lenni Lenape, Shark River first appeared on a 1686 map of East Jersey, making it one of Monmouth County's earliest recorded waterways. The name Shark River is said to have originated either from a shark found in the river in the 1800s, shark teeth typically discovered upriver, or from the low-grade fishing shacks that once lined its banks, evolving from Shack River to Shark River. The inlet wasn't always as stable as it appears today. Shifting sands and strong tides made navigation treacherous for early mariners. In 1915, the first curved jetties were constructed to control the channel, later rebuilt and straightened between 1948 and 1951 under a federal navigation project that stabilized the inlet and created the accessible fishing grounds we enjoy today.
So this inlet is usually my struggle inlet. I always have a hard time here. I always lose a lot of jigs and never really catch a lot of fish. But usually I'm on that side of the inlet. So I'm trying the other side today. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully we lose less tackle and hopefully we put some fish on the board. All right, let's get our first crab on here and throw it out there. It's actually super low tide right now. You can tell by how low the water is compared to these rocks. We'll see if that affects the fishing, but let's give it a shot. All right, we're getting bites already. Just about a minute in. Nothing too big though. Feels like little tiny fish tapping at it. Oh. Let's not have another one of these days where we're just breaking off left and right. There we go, that's our first fish. All right, a little small guy. As to be expected based on how those bites were going down there. First fish at Shark River. All right, let's catch fish number 2 here. Still tossing out pretty far. And then just letting that jig kind of find its way back in with the current. The bites are getting a little better. Wouldn't say great, but better. And I got a wind knot too, man. Double whammy. Oh. There we go. A little small one. This is definitely all that's down there. And just keeps smacking my bait. Oh, actually snagged him through the head. Ouch. All right, I'm learning from some of my mistakes with these small fish. I think I just got to set the hook a little earlier than I am. I think I'm letting them eat it for way too long. It's making me miss a lot of bites. It's like constant bites though. You can tell there's a gazillion fish down there. Fortunately, I've managed to get back 2 snags so far. This is a good fish. Oh, my knot needs to hold up. Come on. Yeah, that's a good fish. All right, how am I gonna get him up here? Oh, man. There we go. I think that'll keep. Oh. Okay, this is a nice fish right here, but he's literally 1/8 of an inch short of a keeper. But I'll take it. It's actually pretty good. It's probably my best fish at Shark River. But yeah, he's going back in. I think the key with that was throwing out a little farther into the channel. That seemed to be where that bigger bite was, and gets away from all those little fish that are just stealing my bait left and right. So we're gonna keep trying that, and hopefully we can get a keeper on the board.
After that fish, I finally learned my lesson and tied on a new leader.
All right, finally got another one. Another little guy. Another little fish right there. Number 3 of the day. So this has happened twice, but there's big fish right in here, or what I think are big fish, that just keep stealing my bait each time. So I'm gonna keep throwing in there. Maybe we'll get one. Seems like the bite's getting a little more substantial, so we are just kind of building the bite. I could have moved earlier, but I decided to stay put. So now that we're building that bite up, hopefully some more big fish come along. Out of 2 days, this is our first burgal. There we go, it's our first burgal of the trip. They pretty much look like Tautog, but don't get them confused, they're not Tautog. But I hope we don't keep just catching burgals. That would not be fun. Ah. Yeah, see? Just cleaning the bait off. So we are down to the final 3 crabs of this trip. Hopefully we can land something on them. Snagged me in the rocks. Shoot. Oh, it's on. Is it? No. Oh, I thought that fish was still on. We're down to the final crab. This is it.
Fortunately, at the buzzer, we were able to land one more fish.
There we go. This feels like a good fish. He's pulling some drag. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Not sure if it'll keep, but still pretty good. He's only 13 inches, but she sure fought like a keeper. At least we got one on the last crab. All right, here we go. Another fish at Shark River Inlet. This is the last official piece of crab. So let's try our luck. Is that it? Did we lose the crab? And we lost the crab. That's just how we'll have to end it. It's an unfortunate way to end the trip, but you know what? We caught a lot of fish on this trip and it was really fun. I had a great time exploring new and different inlets than I usually fish. So with that, time to wrap this up and head home.
By the end of this journey, I'd logged miles, burned through bait, and left a few jig heads behind. But every inlet taught me something about patience, about struggle, and about respecting the process. Tog fishing isn't just about limits or numbers, it's about earning every bite. Sometimes the ocean gives and sometimes it doesn't, but that's what keeps us coming back. Chasing moments, not guarantees. 4 inlets, 2 days, and a little more respect for the fish that owe us nothing.